19, no?
Perquè havia mentilles. Sí, fins anem a una hora i
Llavors va ser... Quan ho vam imprimir...
no, perquè se suposa que és...
Do I not see this being live?
participatiu. No, es tracta de que tothom... el més
Ah, pues si no, ja demanaré a la hora que m'ensenyi. Serà que la tele.
Are we live, yes? So welcome to the Heliosphere, the second Heliosphere 360 that we're conducting. And we're doing this today from Escola Massana in Barcelona. And I just briefly explain the concept. As you can see, it's very chaotic, and that's the way it should be. It'll be a constant coming and going. And also, people will leave, people will arrive, very much Spanish style, I guess. But it's also part of how we want to do. It's also part of how we want to do this. So I'll just briefly explain what this concept is. Heliosphere, as you can see, especially if you're online, is a spherical kind of experience. So the experience is with a 360-degree camera that is us in the middle of the table. For those who are watching this on YouTube, you can control the camera with a little icon in the upper left corner, and you can tilt the camera into this space. We have three spheres in this concept. One is the main table here in the middle, and you can see that there's some empty chairs which are deliberately empty because anybody who's walking by who wants to join the conversation, like if you want to come in and say something closer to the camera and the microphone, you just join the conversation by being in the inner sphere, and you can leave whenever you want. Obviously, I can't leave, but you guys can leave anytime. and then obviously then we have the audience that can participate, and then we have the third sphere, which is the online audience, and they can come in by commenting in the live system. I would like to welcome everybody at the main table now, which is David, Andreo, and Katya. And they've been working a lot on topics in how social media interacts with arts and design, which is the main focus of this debate today. The space we're in is the Massana school, which is very much focused on arts and design, and we've been working with you guys on a social media project, which was very interesting, and Katya, you were involved in that as well. And it's the first time that we're trying to actually involve artists or art students with the process of creating technology. So that was a really interesting experience for me. But generally, just to kick off the debate, I would be very interested in the design process or in the arts process. So David and I were talking earlier that arts is a lot more about a way of thinking and not so much about what comes out of it at the end. So it's very much how the process of thinking influences how we think about society, how we think about our social interactions. And I would be interested in, just to throw that question out there, how social media or social technologies, chat apps, all kind of social interaction mediums, how they potentially are now influencing the way we think, and how that then influences art coming out of it. I'm sure you want to start. And again, for everybody who is online, please just throw in comments into the comment section, and I'll relay the questions.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't define art at all, even like way of thinking, because it's like it might be a practice, but it's also an industrial area, and it's also an institution that legitimizes or is deslegitimized, depending on which context it is put. So, and then like it's. I mean, because I think that before starting to talk about how these social media are influencing arts itself, it's how social media, as something that is designed, it's influencing, first of all, like subjectivities, no? Because, well, there's something that I was thinking before, no? I mean, all social media are highly designed in the way we interact with each other. So that's like a narrow path to express yourself, no? Like through video or through text or whatever, or reacting with a like or sharing the content, something that you might not find in a social network, then it becomes like social network ized, no? Like the like button.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, like I'm starting to talk about the relation between art, design, and social media. First, we need to think about these interactive patterns, how these interaction patterns are designed, and how those patterns influence the way we think about ourselves and the way we talk to each other, no?
Yeah.
So maybe if we manage to understand this, we will be able maybe to translate what is happening to us to what is happening to the people who are practitioners or artists.
Go into that potentially a new communication paradigm, like a new way of communicating.
I think that like the paradigms of social media communications are like ubiquitous connectivity, 24/7 connectivity, real time. They're like going back to some of the observations that I don't know. Now I forgot the name of this guy, no, but like the appropriation and remix of contents, no, not only sharing.
Yeah.
Also like the constant exchange of events or conversations. I mean, all these characteristics might, well, I think that they are affecting the way that art and design is created, perceived and circulated through social media.
And maybe for the others as well, like how do you find, maybe as someone who's studying arts, how do you find is this technology, this I wouldn't say a specific type of technology, but this area of this new communication form, how is it influencing your way, how you perceive, create, co-create, procreate, all these art paradigms? How does it influence your work and your thinking? A big question. Simple answer. But just generally, just to dive more into this core, is it changing something, or is it very natural?
It's naturalized, not natural. And I think the metaphor for it would be like posting on Instagram. Like I post my shit all the time on Instagram. And the thing is that when you get used to it, you feel kind of pressure to post something every week or so. You're like, shit, this week I haven't posted anything. Yeah. I should be more active. I should be working more.
Yeah.
Well, I think not just for the arts. This paradigm is everywhere now. I think it's like permeating in the arts too.
Yeah. And if we take do you feel just to you take this pressure to post or to be active or communicate what you're doing? Does that put pressure on the creation process?
Yeah, it makes oneself hurry, and maybe you post something and the next week you're like, I should have like worked. I should have given a second thought on this. And I think this hurry to post things like just doesn't let you like finish things the way you intended it. Yeah.
So
it's rushed.
So you're more on the edge. You're not like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is worse than the other ways of working. I'm just saying that it just accelerates things, and maybe you'll learn to be more on the edge. But I think there should be spaces to work like more calmly too.
What do the others think? And you can speak in Spanish or Catalan. Like I have David. He works for United Nations. He's my head Dalmater.
You can even explain. You can even use an example to answer what he's trying to ask us.
Vale, pues yo es que la única experiencia que tengo con es Instagram, porque me parece más lo más práctico. También es que nos dicen muchas veces que en Instagram cualquiera conoce.
Okay.
Entonces, lo que a una hay mucho contenido diferente. Entonces yo ahí entro a Instagram y encuentro un montón de ideas que no se me habían ocurrido para nada, y eso es súper útil. Las guardo y lo tengo ahí como un archivo de cosas. No sé, me interesa mucho, pero por otro lado también siento esta cuando no sale de mí.
Okay, she's basically pointing out three interesting questions. First one is that she explains how she uses Instagram as a tool for promotion of her own work, artwork. She explains, for example, an example where she was making a research on ceramics, and
it's not thin.
well, and she identified how Instagram was a very useful resource to find out examples,
Like a library.
Exactly. Exactly. And at the same time, she's pointing that she feels some kind of anxiety because of the self-necessity for publishing her own artwork.
What I wonder, and I keep, and I know it's hard to answer. So, in my head at least, if we see social media as a marketing tool, okay, it's amazing, obviously, for artists to bring it out to find an audience, and obviously it's amazing also as a research tool, like as a library. But again, the question: does that platform, that technology itself, ultimately, because of promotion and because of whatever it does, it creates pressure or something, does it maybe even radically change the way art is thought about and art is then created? So how far into how far back or into the origins or the inception of art does it go? Or is it just a tool that helps you promote and research?
Yeah. So what if it is bi-directional, the impact of social media in arts or arts in social media? Is that a way that we consider how we produce? No, ¿en qué manera es bidireccional esta manera de pensar las redes o las redes sociales y la manera en que trabajamos? ¿Ha transformado nuestra metodología de trabajo el hecho de que comuniquemos, usemos las redes como medio de comunicación o como medio de promoción de una manera concreta? ¿O hay una influencia mutua en ese sentido? ¿O lo vemos o no es tan importante?
I think that yes. I mean, if you are all the time receiving inputs of different aesthetic practices in any way, that is modulating the way you work. And the people who you follow define at the end the work you are doing somehow, because you can find correlation in between that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very close relation in between what you give and what you receive, and somehow, and it's like it's growing together. So at the end, because you are at the bus and you're looking at Instagram, and perhaps you are noticing or not, but you're getting influence of that in an aesthetic way.
But then just to ask the next question, is Instagram or social media the art gallery of the future? Like, is a social media platform ultimately going to replace art galleries or maybe museums? And if we think beyond flat phones and we think virtual augmented realities, mixed realities, is it moving into that direction? As an artist, you will be not so much concerned in getting your art into a gallery or into like a physical space. You will be much more concerned in how do I get followers and how do I get it into this new art gallery, which would be Instagram. Or is it maybe already? Is Instagram already the next art gallery?
Yo en este sentido creo que hoy en día igualmente muchos estudios de diseño y muchos trabajos ya es como que te miran tu perfil de Instagram y tu perfil de Facebook para ver qué es lo que haces, cuánto al día estás, si tienes muchos seguidores. Muchas empresas también a partir de los seguidores que tienen y el reconocimiento que tienes de las redes sociales también como que te dan el reconocimiento a ti, ¿no? Entonces en ese sentido creo que ya está como bastante al día, que sí que sea una forma de mostrarte que se tiene en cuenta y que está teniendo un gran impacto directamente en tu carrera profesional o cómo te muestras como artista.
Yeah, but here the thing is, what is the product? Because in an art gallery, the product is the artwork, no? But in Instagram, the product is yourself.
Good point.
Yeah, so
But is that the fact? Like, yeah, maybe.
according of what she was saying, it's this. I mean, you are forced to be exposed when you work in creativity because recruiters will look at your profile, so it's mandatory for you to be there if you want to get a job. And it's like super demanding because you have to be like, no, yeah, 24/7 online, no, getting like polluted or inspired by other people and then dialoguing with them through your own practice or perspective or aesthetics or narrative if you are in Facebook or Twitter. No?
But I mean, that's the as we said, it seems like the elephant in the room, or the core is I find that like as I'm not an artist or designer, but if I go into a gallery and it's potentially let's say modern art or contemporary art, sometimes it's very hard for me to understand what did the artist actually do here. And then I have to read the description and I have to understand a lot of context that relates to the artist, like the history of the artist, where the art was created and so forth. Otherwise it's too abstract or it doesn't make sense for me as a consumer. So I'm not quite sure. I think in an art gallery as well, obviously it's more static because it's just written text, but I don't think even in a gallery, if you think of a product, you can take the artist out so much.
Yeah, of course.
So the question would be if Instagram or social media is an extension or a new art gallery where you as a consumer, you actually, and as an artist on the other side, obviously, that interaction allows the art maybe to actually be properly explored, properly consumed. Because often I go into a gallery and I'm overwhelmed. Like I would see a lot of different artifacts and I can't understand all of them. But maybe through social media and a more direct connection with the artist, I don't know, art can maybe blossom more. I'm trying to understand if that is a possibility in the future.
Yeah, I think that this is. We can discuss
it. Too noisy? Maybe it's too noisy.
Yeah,
you know?
well,
the other problem.
There are like two digital myths in what you're saying, no?
Yeah.
One of those, it's like prosumerism, no? Yeah. Like we in internet, we have a voice, so we are producing content and we are consuming content at the same time. But then, I mean, we are creating a lot of content for platforms that are commodifying our interactions. Yes. So we are working for this. I mean. In this sense, yeah, we are producing, but for whom we are producing, and which are the revenues of this act of these small pieces of labor we are working, we are producing, no? So that's one of the myths. It's like prosumerism is something good, which is not necessarily like this, no? And then the way of availability, no, and internet, no, this myth, no, of the long tail, no, well that. Denied the long tail theory that everything in fact everything is available online,
yes.
But not in fact, because you have to access to these contents through certain platforms, so there is no democratic horizontal mesh network to access to information. No, you have to have a lot of followers or be in Instagram, because if you have a blog, obviously no one will come there. So if you have to be in Instagram, you have to follow the rules of the gallery of Instagram. So your creativity is very, I mean, it's.
Well, wouldn't that be the same in a physical gallery? In a physical gallery, there's certain, like, you would hope that your art is like at the door where people come in and not like in the corner in the shadows. Like there seems to be something around that space as well. I just like if for anybody online or want to add questions, just comment directly into the system. I can see it here and I can relay the questions back. And you can use in YouTube, you can use the arrow to tilt to see other people. But yeah, maybe again. Again, just on that process, if we take the art gallery in the physical space, and now we take this new digital art gallery, let's say, in the digital space, something around this, that the main difference is that you're much closer to your audience, much closer to the audience. But then the question is that good or bad? I don't know. It sounds like it's a bit confusing maybe as well.
Es que yo no veo que estés cerca de tu audiencia en ninguna de las cosas así. O sea, porque tú solo muestras en Instagram lo que quieres mostrar. No te pueden hacer ellos preguntas, quizás. No hay cercanía por un medio de este.
Yeah. The connection is not so visible.
Yeah.
In one sense. I mean, they don't feel this proximity as we think we are, from the artist to the audience. It's not that something that you feel emotionally.
Yeah.
Igual, por ejemplo, un artista de performance, el Joan Morey, cuelga en Instagram fotos de sus performances, pero no es lo mismo estar viendo una foto de la performance o un mini vídeo que estar allí viviendo. Y en todo caso, estar allí viviendo no significa que estés cerca del artista, es solo un producto de lo que es. Pero no sé, yo encuentro más interesante ir a la galería, que luego te puede complementar la red social.
It's a kind of way, it's never a substitute of like physical experiences, like the ones that she mentioned, that is performative art creations, where the presence, the human presence, and the physical connection with what is happening in the gallery is very important. And social media is not going to be a substitute of that in any manner.
We were talking yesterday about just in terms of the social aspect of arts and how technology influences your art. We were talking yesterday about a project. Maybe you could just tell us again about the project with the plants, we were talking about yesterday. The project with the plants, the ecosystem, where you talk through a digital device with organic.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize the connection between between social media and art in this particular project.
Let's just take it from the side that social media is a way of socializing. So, in a way, that's one example. Maybe there's more examples where these social digital technologies directly are used, not just influenced, but also directly are used.
Yeah. So what you're saying. Well, this work, it's called Conversationally Implant. It's semi-autonomous care system where there is a plant in the middle of the system, so you can talk to the plant through a chatbot based on Facebook or on Telegram. So now we are using social media in a creative way to talk not to other people but to a non-human that is taking care through water and light and sound when you interact with the plant through the chatbot, which means that the social media works as an interface between the thing, which is the plant, and the other thing, which is the human. And in the middle, there is all this infrastructure and so on. And yeah, I think that's an interesting shift because it's not using social media as a showcase, but using social media as a tool to experiment in aesthetic or narrative or political way. No?
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Are there any other examples where you use this kind of approach technologies in your art?
Well, there is this art biennale called the Grom. It's a digital art biennale, and well, there are tens or thousands hundreds of pavilions, and some of them are maybe in Facebook or on Instagram. So they use it as a showcase or as a gallery, but then they experiment. I don't know, these people who make super long posts in Facebook using, what I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea.
No, la peña, these people that make super long posts, and you start to scroll down and it's like super.
The ones with.
Yeah, with symbols, or so it's a creative way of. I won't say that it's art, but I mean because you have. I don't remember because I don't use Facebook anymore, no. But you had like a limit of characters, and there were some people that they hacked this length to. Or there is a super interesting artist, Ben Grosser. And he did several projects in Facebook. One was called the Multiplicator. It was released like in 2014, and it's a plugin that you install on your browser. So when you go on Facebook, you see no numbers. No, so this competitive part of Facebook suddenly disappears, no? And it's a way to show how these gamified experiences create anxiety or illusion on us, and how these numbers are mediating our relationship on social media, no? That's intervening in the social media itself. It's changing the experience, so it's a way of pointing like dark patterns or shitty things that this social media provokes to users. This is one of his works. Another one is called I don't remember the name. It's he used this like a combination of emojis in Facebook to hack the way we interact to each other, because the set of emojis we have in Facebook it's like super narrow. It's like four or five. I don't remember.
Predefined, yeah.
So he was playing with these ways of super standardized communication in Facebook.
Interesting. So in relation to that, like, there's one. So if we think of what you just said, that there's certain art that involves some kind of digital interface, or social interaction, or emotional reactions. And our question is could you say that by the existence of social media, because it exists, is it allowing art to be more visible and more engaging? But at the same time, is it decreasing the quality of art?
I wouldn't say, like, I wouldn't dare to speak in terms of quality, because this has been done before and has been used as a tool for like making some art better than the other, and like classifying it in a sense of giving it a sense of class, like this is better, this is worse. I wouldn't dare just to do that. But for example, in my field, which is 3D, I love to make 3D things. When you go to Instagram and use the hashtag, you put on 3D, and the thing is that
It's like digital artifacts you're creating.
yeah, exactly, like 3D renderings, like animation or a still image. You go on, you put the hashtag, and all the posts like almost look the same. Like they are always those same posts, like with this cinema 4D rendering, static qualities. This like butter cutting, and then there's another block of butter, and it cuts, and a ball passing through a hole. It's like this repetition and constant like cross pollination that we've talked about before. I think it's, for the most part, like standardizing, not decreasing the quality, but standardizing some kinds of art. Like,
What do you mean with standardizing? Is it like, because obviously there is a certain, because of social media, there's a certain conversions, or like a,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know, like a conformity maybe is a word? Is that what you mean with standardizing?
And the hashtag is like a metaphor for it. Like there's a tag that you put on a thing, and then automatically it changes the way it looks. Like like if you go on 3D, everything's the same. That's what I intended to say.
Yeah.
And the same for every other category. You go on photography and you see like all the same.
Yes. I heard about a really impressive. It's a Swiss artist I met in Switzerland once, and he does invisible art. And I'm sure you're aware of this, but basically you create 3D artifacts, and you put them into a platform, into an app, and then you geotag them. So you can basically take a 3D artifact and you can geotag it into Tiananmen Square in China. And then if you're a tourist and you go to Tiananmen Square in China, obviously there's no art there that is in any way critical. So you take up your phone, take the app, and you get a blended experience, and you can see the art artifact in your phone. So it's like I mean, it's a very bad comparison, but it's like the Pokemon idea. You know, you see a virtual object placed in a geo position.
Yeah.
So that's like really fascinating stuff, I find, where you can disrupt as well with art by using social platforms and social experiences.
But I was, because you're talking about standardization of art or homogenization. Could we say the same about identities? But not only in social media, but
Yeah, well, of course, art is not a closed bubble separate from the rest of society. I mean, if this is happening in art, I'm sure it's happening everywhere else. So yeah, well, you just have to go on Twitter and read the bios. You will read more or less like 80% of the bios are like, yeah, good vibes only. I like to surf. I like traveling. I've been to 26 countries, etc., etc. And
Es como promocionar lo que los otros creen que es correcto. O sea, no es lo que tú ves en realidad. O sea, yo no creo que sea todo una estandarización. O sea, la personalidad es imposible de estandarizar. A no ser que lo intentes imponer, pero es que en algún momento vas a explotar. Pues esto es lo que quiero creer, que no siempre vas a ser igual que los demás. O sea, que hay algo que nos diferencia y que no es lo que mostramos realmente. Mostramos solo lo que creemos que quieren ver.
sí, pero
Y entiendes, madre mía, es que
sí, pero
si quieres llegar a algo con alguien, te tienes que vender bien. O como crees que le va a gustar a él.
espera que te traduzcan y te rebaten.
Yo pensaba que tenia
Maybe just to, on that note, yeah. So conformity, or standardization. I mean, as artists and designers, especially from Massana, you would be, I assume, very interested in disrupting that conformity or that standardization. Wouldn't that be like an opportunity? Like it's an offering, it's an opportunity where you say, okay, through social media there's so much conformity, so you go in. So are you being sucked into that conformity to be maybe famous, or to get your art to more people, or can you say, oh no, I will like pull out and create something that disrupts this conformity, but then I will risk my audience maybe.
Quizás un poco de las dos. O sea, si tú quieres ser disruptivo y que la gente te preste atención, tú tienes que empezar haciendo lo que los demás esperan y luego cambiarlo.
So basically,
Es que creo que eso es más importante.
both of them, basically. I mean, at the beginning you have to be conformative, but at the end you can use this position to go beyond the conservative part of it.
But again, to come to the beginning of the debate, is social media so, let's say, subtly in the process, so early subtly in the process, that it's very difficult now. I mean, you said you went off Facebook. Very brave. You know? I don't know if you could, you know, you're just like, I would be like, I have no friends. But basically, how can you be in it and then pull yourself out to disrupt it? You know, maybe you're already so sucked in that it's, I don't know.
Maybe the way of pulling out is going the other way around and copy, like if there was no tomorrow, like appropriating work of others. Like if we are appropriating work of others, like in an undercover way, you could go all out and say, yeah, I'm copying this and I'm copying this and I'm copying this, just to make it visible, like, you know, like the accelerationism way.
Yeah, but how do you, I don't know, maybe the others, how do you do that in your process? Obviously you, as an artist, intrinsically you want to create something unique, something new, but now you have this thing that spreads everything. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not an artist. I'm just.
Yo tampoco soy artista.
Do you feel artist? No. No.
Interesting.
None of us.
Why is that?
Pero es que tampoco diseñadora, es que estoy aquí para ver lo que es.
We're learning.
Yeah, but I mean, every I'm sure the most famous artist in the world would say exactly the same. Oh, okay. Well, obviously that's a bigger question. What is an artist, and when are you an artist? But again, I'm just because based on the topic of this, I'm just really interested in the thought process and how these, and that's what you brought up. I think is really fascinating. It's like is that aspect of conformity potentially disrupting or changing art? You know, like can you actually just like totally like create something where the fuck did that like, or is just everything gonna become one big mush?
Tough question.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible to pull out of everything. Like we're human, we're attached to others.
Yeah.
In a way. So the fact that this is now like sped up by social media doesn't mean that it's been this way like since the beginning of time. Like we've always been copying people. Like I think that now that the rate of copying or being inspired by others is accelerating, it's now that we realize that this is happening.
Yeah. I like to use the term borrowing. You're borrowing inspiration from others. So what do you what?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that it's not so easy to. I mean, I think that we really want to believe that we can, like come in and come out. But I think that it's not so easy, and when you are media, you are, embedded in social media, so you are generating all the time symbolic capital.
Yeah.
So it's not so
What do you mean
easy.
with symbolic capital?
Everything, images, recognition, the culture of recognition, the image that you are creating of yourself and your work in order to be recognized by the other ones, this kind of wet work.
Yeah.
So I think that it's not so easy. Probably as an artist or philosopher or, I don't know, media theorist, whatever, I think that you would love to be recognized as the one who is hacking all the system and, like taking the tools and then going out. But, you are in the middle of it. So, you are producing with all the structures. So I think that in a way it's a tricky question.
Yeah, it feels also when you were speaking to me, it feels almost like the concept in future that the artist actually also becomes part of the art. Like a lot more that the artist itself is the art. If you breadcrumb, like you just said, if you breadcrumb the capital, like that everything suddenly becomes a mush, then it's almost like.
But this used to happen before also, not just with social media that it's happening now. Before, like, common, like Van Gogh, all these people, we just don't think about his camp. We also think about his traumas or his personality.
Yes.
It's been like this for a long time.
Yes. So can we maybe now say that it's still the same? It's just the time frame has changed, so it's much more time. We don't have to wait like 100 years until the whole history of the artist is reflected. We actually get it like all the time.
Yeah, I think like nowadays you can actually show more time, like all time, and to much more people, and it's like you're being watched like all the time. And for thousands or millions of people. Before maybe just few people just used to know what was going on in your life or who you were.
Yeah.
Now it's like actually anyone can get that knowledge.
Yeah. Huh. Because it relates a little bit to what you said at the beginning. Also, this the time, like, so, like if we look at more like art that has evolved, where the artist maybe died in poverty and he didn't know he was that good, and like hundreds of years later, suddenly his art is like resounding. So it's almost like sometimes art needs like a incubation kind of process to mature or to grow in its capacity. So I wonder again with social media, does it are we like, instead of growing these mature trees, are we now planting all the time, planting quick plants? You know, is it moving?
When you speak about getting the recognition and saying that an artist is good or not, I think it's very related what he said about the system that legitimates some kind of arts and practices, and some others that are not, and sometimes this changes, and then perhaps some things come up. So it's not. I think it's not, again, like thinking about art in terms of quality, if it's good or not. Like if which systems are regulating the visibility of it.
I mean, it's still related to hegemony. You know, I think that it's not so different from, you know, the salon of the refugees, you know, the ones who were rejected from the big museums, or, I mean, no, it's something more related to probably statistics, but I mean, we are producing hegemony all the time, so it's not about quality, it's about who is allowed to decide, no? I mean, the classification in terms of quality.
Quality is fascinating in arts because like you can, it's so hard to quantify. I mean, obviously, but if I'm not an artist, okay? But let's say I just scribbled something, and then I have a team of social media influencers that I all pay, and then I post this, and then I get like 1 million likes and 2 million followers.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a few people that then suddenly think, because of the rate of those new metrics in social media, oh, this art must be amazing. You know, it's like you can create these bubbles, which obviously also must influence your work, like the
Also, like,
checking the likes all the time.
yeah, and also if you get a job or where you're exposing or not.
Yeah.
But this dynamics at the end is what keep you working, like the possibility of that.
Yes.
And at the end it's like you're getting into a circle because somehow you once can get to the possibility.
Yes.
And like this gets you into this like 24/7 rhythm in which at any time, at any moment it could happen, so you should be ready for that.
Yeah. I just wonder, is it like now in modern times you have to, like if you want to get your art into an art gallery, or if you want to get someone to sell it for you, like an agent or something, you almost have to have like amazing social media statistics. And that means then in the creation process you're really like obsessed about the likes and the engagement. So it suddenly becomes more about those metrics than actually evaluating the art. It becomes like a collective evaluation or something.
Yeah, well, there's a case which is, I think it's really paradigmatic for this, which is like acting castings, in which, for example, if you go to a casting, you're required to have a certain.
Have you done one? Like,
No, I have. That's friends, just friends. If you're required to have a certain number of followers in order to casting. If you're below 20,000, you're out, which is creepy.
Well, I mean, you could say acting is an art form in a way. It's a different art than you guys. It's interesting. Maybe just because we have another time. What do we have? Another like 15 minutes. Maybe we can just shift a bit to a different topic in terms of where do you think, or where would you like this to go? Because obviously, I'm sure you've been thinking about what the next stages of development are. I mean, devices are getting smaller, things are becoming closer to our body, you know, like with headsets, VR environments, everything is becoming more connected. So where do you think, in relation to your work, would you like to see the development, and maybe versus where you think it might go, or what you're also concerned about? just like putting on like a future lens, let's say 5-10 years into the future. And maybe we have 15 minutes. Maybe everybody, if you want, could say something about that.
I would say that I'm concerned in a way, I mean, with this relation to the promises of the future. I'm concerned about...
What do you see as the promise?
Promises of the future,
What would
you know,
that be
like
then?
producing all the time images or works to put online by social media in order to get recognition, and then probably I will get the opportunity of my life, you know, it could be a research grant or it could be to be invited to whatever.
Yeah.
So I would say that I'm more concerned about this kind of producing rhythm all the time, 24/7, because of these possible offers, possibilities, future lands. I'm more concerned about that.
And where do you see, if you put like the future lens on, where do you see these technologies will go towards? Will we have a lot more, and also in relation to art, will we have a lot more like the 3D stuff, virtual reality art? Will we, like, where do you, not just for you but generally, where do you think like these technologies will evolve into? Then obviously maybe the pressure is a massive concern, but how will the, like what do you see happening in this space?
I think that also we'll have to develop like art and well in many other stuff, because for example I saw lately an article on DZine that talks about that 3D programs for architects and like renovators, for example. Now with virtual reality glasses, like you can see what is happening and you can just construct in the area and then push and with your hands just with many few movements like create without an interface or a computer. And this is, I think this will change like the not maybe like a little, maybe just a little, but like the way we produce and think that the possibilities we have to do things.
Well, that's pretty much the same that Photoshop did or Word did with a typewriter or I don't know, using la escuadra y el cartabón, no, to write, and that's a dynamic that it's very embedded on the digital mindset, no, and this idea of the industry to raise friction, no, on what we do, no, and like use. It's like Donald Norman was the guy who said the perfect interface is no interface, no. So you can just from your mind to, no. That's the vision of the industry, no, and to do some cool stuff. I mean, it takes effort. You have to master the tools, and then there are some accidents. So it happens. No?
Is it like a vision? We just basically projecting into the future. Is it like a vision that the canvas, the artist's canvas, is like some digital, just like a magician almost. They're creating this digital artifact through some visual, no interface, but some visuals, and then and then other people can experience this in a blended reality or something.
Yeah, for me, it's again like digital meets against the dirty reality of daily life of an artist who is struggling with calls, trying to get money to produce, not being able to buy Oculus because they are so fucking expensive, and then maybe like trying to explore something with paper. Although he or she is working on digital, he's super interested on paper because it creates like a switch, a difference between what is technology, which are the possibilities of technology, and how to think about technology through art otherwise, no? I don't know if I'm explaining myself.
What do maybe others think, like, projecting again into the future, like how these technologies, these social technologies, let's say, what will they become? And also maybe reflecting, which is interesting based on the work we did, and I know from some IT companies, tech companies, that artists and philosophers and designers are being hired to reimagine these futures. So it's almost like we don't actually know what this stuff will look like. It just emerges as we move on. So again, what kind of future would you like to design? Maybe ask this question. You know, like if you were hired by one of the big social media companies and they say, okay, design the shit for the next 10 years. What is this going to look? What would you do?
It's all about immersion, I think. Well, the trend is all about immersion.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, in a sense that aesthetic experience traditionally has always been about being in front of a big picture and watching and being amazed by the greatness of the artist. Thing is, there's a way being paved in a sense that the figure of the artist has been torn down in the arts. Like we don't think anymore of the artist as someone who's like this deity who creates downwards to the people.
Yeah.
And I think the aesthetic experience, if the trends go on like they are doing so, it's all about immersion in a sense of not watching and contemplating, but being inside of something.
Okay.
In a sense, I would love to, like, I don't know, get a rendering and putting all of you inside of it, you know?
Yeah, but just to follow up, I'd be really curious of what your opinion, but I just want to follow up. Being, okay? So, being the artifact. So obviously, I'm a human, but in your vision, what you just had, could I be like a mountain, or can the experience transform that I become objects of the environment, not just a human being?
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be like the utopic way. Like if you can be inside of any reality and you can be anything.
The ocean.
Yeah, and I think it would help like paving the way for ontologies which are more flat in a way, in the sense that everything, that tree or a column or a room or a computer has the same value as us. If you can be this or the light, you know, like because the only way of putting yourself to the level of something else is being something else.
Wow. I guess everybody wanted to be God in that one.
No idea how your future.
I want to be God. What do others think? I don't know.
A ver, es que solo puede ser otra cosa si generas la experiencia de ser una columna, solo puede ser desde tu percepción de ser columna, no de lo que es una columna en realidad. O sea, que igual estás mintiendo.
You really never live your own mind in some kind of way. I mean, even you want to become a column, at the end it's your mind who is trying to become a column, but it's your mind who is working here.
Yeah, but you can maybe transform the experience so that you actually really believe you're a column.
Yeah, but a belief is a belief.
Yeah, I know. But then again, that's art, I guess. You believe in, but that's what do others? I don't know. You join? Do you wanna?
No, I'm just.
No. Oh, maybe. In terms of a future yourself.
I'm a little bit, but I'm obsessed with virtual reality video games.
Video games?
Yes, because I see maybe like people have a role inside the game. And they can choose the role. They can choose I'm gonna be a column and I'm gonna be a chair. Or They play so strong this role. They make almost movies. They start talking. They start joking. You can put your finger in the nose of the other and throw. It's another level of game, and it's another level of communication. And I'm really shocked about virtual reality games. It's so. And GTA 5 play. If you kill somebody, you go to prison. You can be a taxi driver, and people stay 4 hours, 5 hours being a taxi driver. And they probably playing, but they're so happy being a taxi driver. Or maybe a Globo. You stay in the game and come a guy and tell you, I'm the new Globo of the city. And he stays 6 hours a day being the Globo in GTA. And this just...
So because we only have 5 minutes left, so using that metaphor, so could we make the statement that art will actually, based on technology and immersive technologies, art could potentially transform our complete concept of reality. Like basically we're creating realities. Art will create realities in which we create a complete other existence. I guess.
Everything we do does.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but
I think everything we do all the time does. Like art, cuisine, philosophy, physics. Everything changes. Everything builds our reality. This is all built. Like we're getting well.
But art then becomes, and I've fascinating. Art kind of moves away from the canvas, moves away from a 3D observed object into a third phase where you become the art. So I'm suddenly the whole fucking canvas. Or I'm something. So I don't know how to explain this actually. You become the art. You don't just observe art, you become it. Through the artist.
Like something interactive projects or this year, next year. I think it's the most. You put a 3D and people moving and the 3D moves and they.
So social media and art will ultimately create new reality. Maybe.
New virtualities.
New virtuality.
Si las aceptas, o sea, tú siempre puedes elegir no ser parte de eso.
You can always choose not being part of that.
Yeah, of course, But then what are you part of then? You know, that's the next question.
De otra posibilidad.
Well, okay, I guess we'll wrap up. Is there any final notes anything you want to throw in?
Well, I had a final note on what Andreu said about having no interface by creating. I think like this utopian vision of Iron Man like moving around all his invisible hut and things. I think that having face erases a big part of art, which is error. I mean, having to deal with physical interfaces or digital interfaces brings to it kind of errors and malfunctionings, which are an invaluable source of material for art. I think that wanting to eliminate the interface entirely can go to some great results, but it could also erase a big part of creating. This sounded super neoliberal.
Any other final comments? Anything you want to throw in? Anything?
I have if you don't have interface, but you still have an error in the system, maybe you can see the error, but it's I don't know how to say it, but no interface don't really mean no error. But maybe you don't, or the error is so inside you that you can. I'm a little bit scared by no interface because of that. Because maybe we can see the errors, but I don't understand how it can work.
I mean, to be honest, I must admit that I truly think that it's absolutely impossible having no interface. I mean, what we call world is an interface or an amount of interfaces. So, I mean, it sounds quite scary having no interface because at least to me it sounds like, something transcendental, like God or something like that.
For me it's like, it's more a metaphor, of course, but what Norman Foster wants to say is like, you can design something that is so seamless that it creates the illusion of anything, no? It's like the metaphor of this illusion of Minority Report or Iron Man, no? Like in this.
Metaphors,
have
political
of course, and we already talked a lot about what the most invisible is an interface, the most powerful is. No?
Guys, I will conclude, but we can keep talking. I just have to cut the stream. And I just want to thank everybody who watched this online. We're going to upload a recording of this if you missed it. And also you can comment more. Thanks to David and Andrea for setting this up here in Massana in Barcelona.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, very interesting. We'll do it again. I mean, this is a new concept, so we keep doing it till it kind of establishes itself.
Anytime.
Thank you very much. I'll basically just switch this off, but we can get comfortable. What usually happens is once you switch the camera off, everybody gets really relaxed. It's like really funny. Okay, thank you very much, everybody online.